Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to another episode of the EKN Debrief, our podcast here on the EKN Radio Network, where we break down a race that we are just trackside for. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024, episode 134, as we are looking at the 2024 United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix, just conducted this past weekend, August 9th through the 11th. At the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati and Batavia, Ohio. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean. So we are going to give you a kind of a breakdown of what happened and transpired over this past weekend, a crazy weekend of racing at the club, essentially, is what we're calling it, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Again, this show is presented by Sodi Racing USA. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to a new exclusive importer, the karting distribution led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the Sodi Kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. Nate, this is the 12th season of the United States Pro Kart Series. We got into round 4 of a 5-round championship program, again, at the club in Batavia, Ohio. And the weather was probably the best we've had it at the facility because it's typically humid. We did have a lot of humidity on Thursday, so that was kind of a killer for everybody. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had mid-80s, lower 80s as the temperature, but the breeze certainly helped throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't classic sweating throughout the entire weekend type event. I think it was some decent weather compared to what previous series had to endure when they made their trip to MCC. So at least for us, it was a nice surprise for what is a final run of a long stretch of series coming to the club here.
Yeah, this is the 4th different program, at least this year, that I can think of off the top of my head. You have Superkarts USA, Race Road Tax, you have Stars Championship Series, and now United States Pro Kart Series. Going to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. So a lot of racing happening there in southwestern Ohio, just outside Cincinnati. And again, the weather was no rain leading into the weekend, no threat of rain at all weekend long. So that was great. You got to wake up, I think Sunday morning, people had long sleeves on. It was a little bit of a brisk morning, 8 a.m. warm up for the main events on Sunday. So again, a welcome to weather change this weekend at the club. Looking at by the numbers for the USPKS Ohio Grand Prix, 194 in total for entries on the weekend. Again, the smallest field of the year began with 262 back at Speed Sports. We had 255 at Trackhouse, 199 at the Millwright Raceway, and 194 filling up the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. And I think, Nate, that's one thing about that facility. It's got a big enough paddock to where, again, we could have numbers of 260 probably at that facility for sure. It'll definitely fit them all in. Plenty of parking, plenty of grid or paddock space for competitors. But a little bit lower number. I think a lot has to do with that being all the championship races count. End of summer, kids are already starting to go to school in certain states around the country. There's a lot of different factors into it, but still almost 200. I think that's pretty much the core number of entries for the program moving forward.
Yeah, and it's similar to what SCUSA had been running for the past couple of weekends too, and of course with the drop in entries in most series, it's kind of on par for where USPKS should be. But I mean, if we are to get more entries in the future, if they do go there again, they obviously can hold them. We've had quite a bit of room in the back 40 where most people were setting up campers and that to accommodate a potentially 60 or 70 more entries in the future if they are to go there again.
Yeah, if you had the numbers like what we had at Speed Sports or Trackhouse, 262 or 255, it would fit it. And there's plenty of parking for cars, plenty of RV spots. They have that whole row of RV parking and hookups ready to go. So again, yeah, that facility is welcoming big events, and we'll be doing that in the future. This weekend, the biggest category of the weekend was K100 Junior. That's been the story all season long, this time with 46 drivers. So the only category that jumped above the 40 mark, we had K Senior and Mini Swift above 30. We had 30 for Mini Swift and 34 for K100 Senior. So no B mains for the junior or senior KA divisions this weekend, like we did at the Millwright Raceway before. So, but we did do the A, B, C, and D format. Nate, I think if we had more time in a weekend, I think it'd be really cool to have kind of the categories split up that way all the way, because it made for easier heat races in terms of not a lot of major incidents, not a lot of, people getting wrecked and having to fall from say 20th to 40th. But and then you put them all together on Sunday. It makes Sunday a little bit more exciting when you combine those categories into the big fields that they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point of potentially bringing down like the amount of incidents you might have on track with you not falling as farther back in the field and having less drivers to contend with. So that obviously would be something that PKS would look at, but we don't have enough time in the weekend to do that, unfortunately,
No.
for all classes, as much as it's a tempting option. But K100 Junior did prove, even with the class splits, did prove to be a bit of a chaotic one throughout the weekend, but for sure put on some great racing. Yeah,
again, the tight racing that is K racing across the country. That's what we see. We did see an increase in entries for X30 Junior and X30 Pro. X30 Junior up to 23 and Pro reaching the 20 driver mark on the weekend. So that's the third highest total for that, where X30 Junior had that second highest below 32 at Trackhouse. So good uptick in those categories. K100 Masters was at 12, same number we had at the Millwright Raceway, while we had a total of 59 cadet drivers, 30 in Mini Swift, as we mentioned before, and then 29 in the Micro Swift division. So again, pretty standard numbers in those two categories, and bodes well for the future of the sport. We're going to see a lot of those, a handful of the mini drivers moving up to ranks next year, and then some of these Micro Swift drivers moving up to Mini Swift to kind of continue the trend of big numbers in the kid categories, essentially from junior down to cadet. Nate, it's been pretty solid for Mini and Micro all season long, and we've seen some really great racing all year. Yeah, the Mini and Micro on-track battles have been really interesting and fun to watch. Been some pretty fair racing too, and when you think about it, when you put kids of that age and karts this powerful, they're still being fair and honest with each other on track. And it's no matter what series you look at, it's been one of the classes that you definitely try and tune into, and that was no exception this weekend. And the great thing about Micro is we've seen a lot of these kids develop and get really good as the season goes along. We had a handful of drivers that you could pretty much count on being in contention. And now we're getting anywhere between, 10 to 12 drivers every weekend in the mix, from qualifying to the main event, and just kind of the way things shake out. And, some do well and some just have some bad luck or make some wrong moves. But it's been really exciting to watch that category throughout the year, and getting to know some of these youngsters that will be part of the sport here for the next few years. So with that, let's head into our first commercial break. And when we return, we'll get into our Paddock Pass presented by OTK USA.
Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rollison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlson Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. The Parolin Le Mans full-size chassis for junior and senior classes and the Parolin Opportunity model for cadet divisions have earned success weekend after weekend at all the major championships and events in both the USA and throughout Europe. The Parolin chassis lineup also includes the Invader shifter, along with the Daytona 4-cycle chassis and the Delfino Kid Kart. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America. Parolin USA partners with several companies and race teams across the country to provide a strong dealer network to represent the brand locally and at the national level to support drivers throughout North America. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin.
And welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and our EKN Debrief, episode 134 on today, Tuesday, August 13th, as we are breaking down the United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix in this show presented by Sodi Racing USA. We are now into our Paddock Pass, which is presented by OTK USA. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK, from the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, and EOS chassis, and now the new Gillard, Lando Norris, and Carlos Sainz brands. OTK quality is second to none. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. So, Nate, the Paddock Pass, let's start out with a driver making a senior debut. We had a couple of them, but more notably, Carter McMurray, the son of NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, making the drive over from the Charlotte area to compete this weekend, moving up to the X30 Pro division this weekend.
Yeah, Carter is a driver we don't typically see, especially in two-cycle racing on the national or regional scene. He mainly does a lot of club stuff at Trackhouse and the occasional appearance for any of the major CKNA events. Especially the past couple of years, we've seen him at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Spring Nationals, but we don't usually get to see him take on the best of the two-cycle racing has to offer. We did see him at Trackhouse when PKS went there for the second round of the season, so really cool to see him moving up into the senior category, fighting with some of the best X30 drivers in the nation last weekend.
Yeah, in a rare instance, he's 13 going on 14. So again, junior weight, just a little too much for him. He's a almost like a wrestler type build, and also I think a little bit taller than his dad Jamie. So he's definitely got some of his mom's genes where he's starting to grow pretty tall for being a race car driver. So again, they were supposed to race at a Legends event and decided to skip that with the postponement due to Hurricane Debbie stuff coming through the Virginia area. And so that was pretty cool to see him. And he did very well. But also Austin Olds, another senior rookie, making his debut for MPG Motorsports. He was pretty notable on the weekend as well. So great to see some of these young drivers moving up to the X30 Pro category. A driver returning from injury after suffering a broken wrist at the club in June for the SCUSA event. Peyton Westcott made her debut back to the karting rinks here in the U.S. She actually traveled over to race in Italy, still had a cast on her arm, made do with some what's the word I'm looking for? Some revised gloves and suits to be able to fit over the cast, but came back from that at the end of July and came back to get the cast off. Now just wearing a splint on her hand. And when talking to her Friday in the paddock, she was amped up, ready to go. Felt great in terms of no pain or no weakness in her wrist. So the junior driver for Rollison Performance Group was ready to go, Nate, and she did fairly well on the weekend. Was among the contenders. Had a little bit of bad luck Sunday in the main event, but great to see her kind of bounce back. I think she's probably one of the toughest people we have in the paddock today.
Yeah, it was good to see her back in the paddock after coming back to the track, where obviously she had that incident at the Pro Tour. But in terms of on track for her, she had pace throughout the weekend that was contending with the leaders and definitely was within that battle for the podium spots. But if there is a person that you could put the saying that if they had all the luck they have is bad, it's pretty much been Peyton Westcott's 2024 season, with just being unable to convert for reasons outside of something that she can control, whether it be just how she's raced or obviously the wrist injury. It's been a difficult season for her and the RPG squad, but I think with the pace that she has been showing this year and still a lot more racing to go in 2024, we could see her back on a national podium.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to seeing that happen in the future. The next topic is a junior driver as well as Alessandro, who made his debut in the junior ranks, racing with Parolin USA alongside Supertune USA in the KA100 junior ranks. He's been racing cadet. Started out the year in the U.S. and then went over to Europe there. It's been racing in the cadet categories over there. Getting a lot of success, but came back to the USA this weekend to race in the K100 junior category on the Parolin Le Mans chassis that is really the full-size chassis right now, under a lot of development with Ben Crittenden and Marco Mastronzi with Supertune USA, Ben Crittenden, the technical director now with Parolin USA. So they've been doing a lot of testing over the last couple of months to their full-size chassis to kind of hit the US market, trying to get some success and see what needs to be done for the racetracks, the tires that we utilize over here. It's a lot different from over in Europe where they're racing at. Obviously, the grip level is completely different over there. But, Parolin has been a very successful chassis in the full-size ranks. We've seen it very successful in the cadet categories here for a number of years now. So, again, a lot of development going into that, and you throw Alessandro in to make his junior debut. Not a bad debut for him. I think I recall in the main event he got kind of pushed off in one of the corners, so that kind of hampered his final results. But I think he probably had top 10, top 15 pace all weekend long, Nate.
Yeah, I think even more than that. He was really impressive in qualifying. I think he was in the battle for pole for a little bit of that on Friday. But, I mean, you're right. He was on the unlucky end of what happened on Sunday's main event, along with a lot of other drivers, really aggressive and wheel-to-wheel combat on Sunday for the KA Junior final that took out a few drivers. But even though it's not the results that Truchot or Parolin would have wanted, it was definitely a really strong showing for them. I think a lot of people in the paddock definitely turned their heads to notice how strong of a weekend that was for him in a junior debut.
Yeah, excited to see what this kid's going to be able to do. If he stays junior racing the rest of the year, or if he's going to come back and do any more cadet racing, we'll have to wait and see. Kind of like that. He said he really enjoyed the junior category and the full size, the extra speed, and the very competitive field that makes up our junior ranks here in the USA. So with that, let's head into our next commercial break. And when we return, we'll have our race report started, presented by Stilo USA.
Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 with a sealed Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and a Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the 2024 season include the Ignite Majors, which began with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway in December as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week as part of both the sprint and road race events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, which features 12 races at 6 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in other states all across the country, from Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program every year. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite Kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
And we are back with the EKN Debrief, episode 134, on Tuesday, August 13th, as we are breaking down the United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix, in this show presented by Sodi Racing USA. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean, and we are now getting into our race report, which is presented by Stilo USA. As a world leader in personal racing safety products, Simpson Performance Products is now the official North American distributor for Stilo helmets. In addition to their popular auto racing helmets, Stilo is excited to have made their move into karting. Stilo has 3 helmets designed and manufactured specifically for karting: the ST5 CMR and the ST5 KRT helmets, including the new ST5 CMR Carbon helmet now available. Complete your safety gear with the Stilo Carbon Curva rib and chest protector as well. For more information, check them out at stilohelmets.com or by following them on social media at Stilo USA. Nate, let's get into our first category, which is X30 Pro, presented by Rollison Performance Group. And the headline is
Norberg earns second of the season.
Yeah, no surprise that we saw Ryan Norberg, the Rollison Performance Group driver and 3-time defending USBKS champion, towards the front of the field. He's been fast at the MCC facility, at least the 2 times that we have been there before, last year's USBKS weekend, and of course the SCUSA Spring Nationals as well. And didn't, however, get the fast time in qualifying, and qualifying very fun to watch with the X30 Pro category. And it was the quote unquote hometown driver now with Trinity Karting Group, as the British driver Brandon Carr was able to put down a 55.293 to just edge out Norberg for the fast time in the session. So it put Carr on the inside of the front row and Norberg on the outside of the front row. And as we saw last year, Nate, starting on the outside at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati is not the best start, but I think Norberg pretty much handled it as best as you could this weekend compared to what he did last year.
Yeah, a driver of that caliber, of course, is going to be able to figure that out. But, we saw pace from him at the SCUSA Pro Tour when they went there, and unfortunately a issue made him DNF then, but coming back this weekend with a bit of a vengeance and coming off of 2 DNFs in 2 finals for the USPKS at Trackhouse, and Millwright needed to have a really good weekend to get back into the championship fight, and that's exactly what him and RPG did.
Yeah, he survived the opening heat race, getting through the opening corner and then fighting his way to the front and taking the win in that race ahead of Alessandro De Tullio, with Kart getting pushed back to third. In the second heat race, he held the outside line with the special tires, staggered specials, secret, whatever, and just was able to hold the outside somehow and held on to go wire to wire in that race as Kart dropped to second, De Tullio holding the line in third. And then in the third heat race, again, kind of De Tullio was able to get out to the front quick, and Norberg, knowing he didn't want to risk anything with all the craziness happening behind them, where we saw Brandon Carr and Austin Garrison get together as Carr got shuffled back and was really aggressive in his fight to try and get back towards the front. Garrison being the victim in that, where they got completely tangled, where they couldn't even get the carts detached from one another. So Norberg, I think, kind of just settled in. He said that in the interview on Saturday night, just settled in behind De Tullio, knowing that one position was not going to be a big factor in starting on the pole position, as it was already in his hand, running in second behind De Tullio, and then Paulie Massimino there sitting in third on the final heat race. So again, Norberg pole position for the main event, De Tullio on the outside, Massimino earning the third spot to start the main event, with Harley Keeble, last year's USPKS winner, in fourth, and then Carr dropping back to fifth with that DNF in heat 3. So Nate, that was the lineup. So you kind of had Norberg, Massimino on the inside, and then you had the 2 teammates, De Tullio and Keeble, on the outside. So what were your thoughts going into the start of the main event? Did you think there was going to be some cooperation with some of the drivers, or did you expect to see what we did see?
I mean, you expected to see Ryan Norberg be, the driver out in front and controlling the race pace for most of it. But as the race went on, it seemed like it was more gloves off than a lot of us were anticipating. But especially after the race we saw here in X30 in the 2023 season for PKS, we know it can drivers can race each other hard and sometimes beyond the limit very easily at this track. So a lot of shakeups throughout the order. Some drivers who weren't really within top 5 contention were starting to put their nose into a potential podium. The likes of Aiden Levy, Austin Olds, Carter McMurray, all of those guys who don't have a ton of seat time in this X30 package were looking at potential first podium in the class. So it was definitely a fun one to watch, apart from Ryan making the 8-second gap between himself and Massimino in second, and then 15 seconds back was the battle for third. That final couple of laps really got spicy.
It certainly did. Yeah. It's Garrison, Keeble was running that defensive line early, bunched everybody up, and then allowed the other 2 guys to get away. And then Garrison became the driver to kind of be the one that wanted to lead the third position, but Keeble wanted it just as much. And then you add in De Tullio coming back from getting shuffled down the order. It was exciting race to watch. And then eventually we saw a little bit of contact between Garrison and Keeble going down into the downhill turn 11 corner. So that kind of shuffled up the order, and that essentially gave De Tullio the third spot as they continued fighting all the way through the last lap, where we saw even more contact between Keeble and Garrison in the same corner on the final circuit, fighting for essentially the 4th spot now. And then so their contact kind of shuffled things up even more. This allowed Aiden Levy, who actually started 20th on the grid, so starting dead last, came all the way, got to enjoy the benefits of all this racing for position ahead of him, and was able to slide up into the 4th position to be on the top 5 podium for the weekend. Finished in the 5th spot would have been Carter McMurray, as the junior driver or the rookie driver crossed the line in 5th, but a penalty to him dropped him down to 8th. And this moved up the German driver, Lewis Speck, for Race Lab and TB Kart, who suffered a DQ in qualifying for being too wide. So he had to fight back all weekend long. He had results of 10th, 11th, and 7th in the heat races to start 7th, avoided all the carnage in the main event as well to end up finishing in the 5th spot. So Norberg 1st, Massimino 2nd, DiTullio in 3rd, Levy 4th, and Lewis Speck rounding out your top 5. And penalties also to Garrison and Keeble. This could be championship implications. Garrison ending up finishing 12th, while Keeble ended up finishing in the 16th spot after both crossed the line in the top 10. So yeah, a lot happening, a lot dealing with the championship, and certainly no love lost between a few drivers on the weekend. I think the only ones that were unscathed all weekend long were Norberg and Massimino. I don't think they hit anybody or were in contact with anybody all weekend long. So they got to escape the weekend clean with the top 2 spots, Nate. Hard charger, as I said, Aiden Levy, 20th to 4th. So a 16 spot advantage for him. Yeah,
really impressive from Aiden, who made his first X30 appearance, at least in PKS, at Trackhouse, and to be able to, after missing out on Dousman, I believe, to get onto a podium, especially with the caliber of drivers we got here, and making up 16 spots speaks a lot for last year's K100 champion at SCUSA.
Yeah, so again, that wraps up our X30 Pro division. Let's move into the K100 Senior, presented by Brandon Jarzakrak Racing. And Nate, the headline is
Overbeck muscles to career first.
Yeah, the K100 Senior category is about muscle. Again, these guys are so evenly matched, it seems like, across the entire field, that a little bit of muscling and a little bit of a chess game certainly will help pay off in the end. As the weekend began, however, it was AJ Myers, a driver who has a lot of laps at this racetrack, seems to be very fast, just hasn't been able to get a lot of success at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Well, he did in qualifying at 57.789, was able to put him on the pole position for all of his heat races. Again, with this group split up into the A, B, C, D format. The opening heat race, we saw AJ Myers picking up the win, while James Overbeck, the 7th qualifier, winning the C versus D heat race. Myers ended up winning round 2 with Cameron Weinberg, the 4th top qualifier, winning in the other heat race for round 2. Weinberg was able to best the field in heat 3, as AJ Myers suffered a DNF in that heat race with a spark plug boot coming off, I think while leading, Nate, if not while battling for that top spot. So that gave him a win in 16th, dropped him down to 7th for the main grid, while James Overbeck picked up another heat win. So he went win, 3rd, and a win for the pole position for the main event, alongside double heat race winner Cameron Weinberg. Fernando Luque, a driver coming back from the concussion at the Spring Nationals at Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. He's lined up 3rd with CRG Nordam driver Javier Herrera. A very impressive run for him on the weekend, qualified 10th and moved up to 5th, 2nd, and 2nd in his heat races. So he started on the outside of row 2, and then championship leader Cooper Shipman, just 2 spots ahead of his championship rival AJ Myers when the green flag waved. So Nate, yeah, Overbeck, Weinberg on the front row, Luque, Herrera on row 2, and they weren't. When we finally bunched together the 34 drivers in the field, we weren't able to get through turn 2 very well.
Yeah, a lot of pushing and shoving there, and I mean, it's kind of to be expected with K100 Senior. It's a very arms and elbows out type of racing, but yeah, a lot of different drivers throughout the weekend potentially looking like they had pace to win. A lot of them drivers who hadn't won yet on the PCAS season. Of course, James Overbeck being one of them, AJ Myers, Fernando Luque, Cameron Weinberg kind of had the pace at Dousman, but couldn't ever convert on that. And a lot of other drivers who finished further down the order than they obviously would have intended to, with quite a few DNFs from that main event. But the top 4 that ended up breaking away, Overbeck, Myers, Luque, and Weinberg, really starting to battle in that mid portion of the race where it was some smart driving by Overbeck to just back out of it and follow those guys for the middle section of the race and then work his way back up towards the front of the field at the end of it. I think Ewan Jeffrey, after the K100 Senior race, came up to James Overbeck and said, "It's obvious that you run 4-cycle," because it was just a very 206 style of going at it and going for the win.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it had to do, Nate, with there's a lot of respect between those 4 drivers. Nobody, if somebody forced something, you kind of backed out of it knowing, hey, we had 25 laps to go. So there was a lot of good passing back and forth. They didn't lose a lot of ground early. I think more so later when the second group really kind of started working together to try and run down the leaders. So I think a lot of it has to do with respect, because a lot of times we don't see that in certain K races, right? with the respect games. So it was a great race. Again, all 4 drivers led at one time. Eventually, as you said, kind of Overbeck kind of played the game of chess correctly. Was able to get to the lead there with just a few laps to go. And Myers got himself into second, just was unable to run him down. So that gave Overbeck the victory for Brandon Jarzakrak Racing and the Ellen Racing Kart machine, ahead of Magic Kart USA driver AJ Myers. Fernando Luque finished up in third, while Mick Gabriel, the driver who was part of that second group, they were able to catch the tail end of the lead group there at the end. He got into the 4th spot, was there at the checkered flag in 4th, but a pushback bumper penalty dropped him down to 9th. So that moved Weinberg back into the top 4, and then put Cooper Shipman, championship leader, in the 5th position. So the 2 championship contenders, 2nd and 5th. So again, that tightens up the championship again, as it was really close coming into the weekend. So that's going to be exciting category to watch, just those 2 drivers alone, when we get to Newcastle for the finale. Hard charger of the race was Steven Eisert, 13 spots, going from 24th to 11th in the Sodi Racing USA machine. Not a good weekend for him in terms of heat races, as he finished 16th and 15th, but did show that he had the speed in his final heat, finishing in the 3rd spot. So after qualifying 3rd overall. So again, a tough weekend, but ended up with nearly a top 10 finish for Steven Eisert. So with that, let's head into our next commercial break. When we return, we'll have X30 Junior and K100 Junior after these messages.
What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit SOTI-racing-USA.com to learn more about SOTI Kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the SOTI Racing USA network today. SOTI Kart, the world leader in the karting industry.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
And welcome back to EKN Debrief, episode 134. It is a breakdown of the United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix, and this show presented by SOTI Racing USA. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean, as we are giving you the race report presented by Stilo USA. We are now into X30 Junior, presented by Speed Concepts Racing. And Nate, the headline is
Near sweep for Brown's first win of the season.
Yeah, strangely enough, Turner Brown, the driver we've been watching for basically the last year and a half in the junior ranks, is probably one of the top, was able to come away with his first win in USPKS competition on the season. A driver who won there last year, certainly knows this facility very well, drives it very well, both in X30 Junior and K100 Junior. Was able to set fast time in qualifying, a 56.029. Ended up winning the opening two heat races ahead of Enzo Vidmontien, and with Sarah Bradley finishing third in the opening heat, and Diego Ardila as the championship leader, finishing in third in the second heat. However, the perfect score was broken up in the third heat. I think Brown went off racetrack, if I recall correctly. It might have been this race. Not sure if you remember, Nate, but Vidmontien was able to capitalize and earn the win in the third heat race to put Brown down to second, with Diego Ardiles finishing in third. Do you recall that heat race at all? I'm trying to think.
I do not, but I do remember Turner making some sort of mistake in the fight being on for like the first time all weekend with Enzo leading there. Yeah,
so Enzo able to pick off Brown at the end of the third heat. So a perfect score was not attainable for Brown, but however, he did go wire to wire in what was a pretty dominant race in the main event, leading all 25 laps. Vidmontien slotted into second, ran there the entire distance, with Diego Ardiles in third in the entire distance. So it was a 1-2-3 finish for the EKN All-Stars. Those are the three junior drivers I do have in the as the All-Star drivers, both Turner Brown, Enzo Vidmontien, and Diego Ardiles. So you had Art Rollison Performance Group, Trinity Karting Group, and then Speed Concepts Racing with those three. And then it was Speed Concepts Racing rounding out the top five, with Jackson Wolney finishing in fourth on the Kart Republic, and then Sarah Bradley finishing fifth on her SOTI Kart. So Speed Concepts Racing, three drivers in the top five, all three on different chassis brands, a unique thing there. But it almost got broken up, as Tristan Murphy ended up being the fastest driver on the racetrack at one point, put down the fastest lap, and slowly got himself up into the fourth spot until a spin on lap 20 took him out of the running. So an unfortunate ending for Tristan Murphy, who continues to get quicker and quicker week in and week out. Nate, the hard charger of the race was?
Hard charger was William Kim on his Speed Concepts Racing Tony Kart, making up 10 spots to go from 23rd to 13th.
Yeah, so good improvement. I think by Sunday, Speed Concepts Racing kind of had everything figured out. Just took a little bit. I think the conditions, Nate, would you agree, were a lot different than what we saw in June in terms of grip level, and again, the weather having a little bit to do with it, but mostly the grip level around the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of rubber that was being put down was pretty impressive, especially in the new section with just how much you lean on that outside tire. We saw a more buildup than we did at Dousman in the silo corner, which was pretty crazy to see, just with how much laps are being put down by competitors and the new SH2s with seeming to degrade and leave a bit more rubber on the road. It definitely led to some interesting conditions on track. But I mean, time wise, I think it was something around 3 to 4 tenths quicker, at least in the K100 senior categories, between when SCUSA went there for their round and through stars, and then USPKS, the track gained about a half a second overall in most categories. So yeah, some interesting conditions track this weekend.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm trying. Oh, I went to the wrong race. Hold on, let me look. I just was going to pull up the lap times for X30 Junior, the class we were just talking about. They ran Turner Brown ran a 56.720 as his fast time. So a little bit slower. Faster. Faster by almost 8 tenths this weekend in the main event than he was for X30 Junior. But again, different setup. I think they run newer tires for the Sunday main event. So I guess different conditions, but still pretty crazy to see the quick times with the amount of grip. And again, Rhino Sealer, Nate, that was laid down in that new section of the racetrack where at the end of SCUSA weekend, we did see some of the pavement getting pulled up by the amount of grip on the tires for that weekend. Yeah,
you could definitely see that Rhino liner starting to come up a little bit again throughout the weekend, which obviously isn't the greatest thing for drivers to have to deal with, but all of them made it through some tricky conditions in the backside of the track.
For sure. So let's head into our KA100 Junior presented by BBS Race Engines. And the headline is
Garzone adds to point lead with first victory.
Yeah, a debut victory at the USPKS for Sebastian Garzone. Championship leader coming into the weekend, and was able to grab 25 points in qualifying with the fast time of 57.868. He was, however, not able to win in the opening 2 rounds of the heat races. Again, this category split up into the A, B, C, and D format. Alexander Vanchev had a great opening heat race, able to get out front and score the win in that race, with Armando Martinez, the driver that won at the Wisconsin Grand Prix for RPG Motor or Rollison Performance Group, was able to win in the other heat race in round 1. The second round of heat races saw Turner Brown and Devin Roberts picking up wins. So 4 drivers winning 4 heat races after 2 rounds. And then we had Garzone win. So 5 drivers, and then Brown had to ruin that all by picking up another heat win. And that heat win put him on the pole position, moving Garzone over to the outside of the front row, with Martinez and Roberts in row 2, and Vanchev and Vidmontien, the 2-time winner on the year, starting from row 3. But Nate, we only made it to about lap 5 or lap 6. I'm not sure where they counted the official lap when a red flag came out for a scary incident outside turn 1 that resulted in a broken leg for the driver involved.
Yeah, it was a weird one, with the driver getting hit from head on after being stopped in turn 1 in the barrier, and then the front Nerf bar pedals and other pieces that they have in that pedal box trapping their leg into that pedal box. So having to call emergency services to get him out in a safe manner, as there was a bit of a lengthy red flag to start off Sunday, but able to get him out in a transport to hospital. So obviously wishing them the best. But yeah, it was a really weird incident to see from some of the Kart Chaser crew that were down there when they came up to talk to us, saying it sounded pretty bad. The hit on the barriers was one of the loudest they've heard. But again, obviously hoping for the best for that driver, and yeah, have to see the recovery throughout the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. I had the name and now I can't find it. It was who was involved. It was under the Speed Concepts Racing tent driver that was there. He did come back to the racetrack afterwards. A broken tibia, I believe. Which one's the lower one? Tibia or fibia?
That's a great question.
I guess you didn't do any medical. I think it's Gage Bailey was the name. Yes, Gage Bailey, 827. The driver out at Spring Branch, Texas. So we do wish him the best of luck. Again, racing incident. We've seen it before, but yeah, the cart looked pretty bad afterwards. So to be able to walk away with just a broken leg, a very good sign, and he was in good spirits leaving the racetrack that day. So. Yes. So with that, the race was restarted and everybody's single file. And so you expect some racing to happen. Unfortunately, Vid Montien, who had just gotten into the lead in that point before the red flag had come out, he decided to go defensive, Nate. And this was, some of the kids in the race loved it because they had the opportunity to kind of shuffle around and make some moves. It wasn't just a boring kind of, wait for the last moment. But Enzo went defensive for nearly since the green flag wave to restart the race till as far as he could until he finally was able to get past. But I would say probably about 20 of the drivers were in that lead pack following him.
I mean, a fair amount of them. Yeah, it was a interesting call from Enzo, but with you being 7 or 8 laps into that race and essentially hitting the reset button for a lot of those drivers, it was a difficult situation for Enzo to be in regardless. So him deciding that he wants to be the one to defend instead of other drivers is his decision, and it worked out for him for most of it. Obviously not in the end with Sebastian Garzone taking that win, but it was never out of hand, I think, from Enzo. Of course, blocking is blocking, but it was a very fair race from him. So good run for the Trinity Karting Group driver, and unfortunately for him, not able to convert in the end.
Yeah, it was Harley Keeble-esque, shall I say, because it was the same facility that we saw Keeble do the same thing in X30 Pro. But I got to imagine, like, if this was done in the senior category, you would have saw a lot more shoving and pushing to try and get Vid Montien out of the way. Garzone was able to get by for the lead on lap 18 of the 25-lap race. But Vid Montien and Garzone actually did the same thing too. So I shouldn't talk just about Vid Montien, as Garzone went defensive as well. But Vid Montien was able to slip back into the lead on lap 21. And then Garzone got back by once again for the final time, shuffling Vid Montien back down the order as the train kind of kept going. And Vid Montien was the victim in that, as Garzone was able to lead the field through the final lap. A late run by Turner Brown put the two only 31 thousandths of a second apart at the line, with Garzone picking up the victory ahead of Turner Brown. Ty Fisher ended up finishing in the second spot, so he came up from the 12th position. So a lot of that helped him in this race to finish on the podium in third. Max Weiland finishing in fourth after starting seventh, and then Davin Roberts finishing in fifth after starting fourth on the grid. So Vid Montien actually ended up finishing down in the 17th position. I want to say he had a pushback bumper penalty. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a penalty for unsafe re-entry. 10 position penalty for swerving. So he did cross the line in 7th and ended up finishing in 17th. So a tough break for the two-time winner on the year. Hard charger of the race was, Nate?
Hard charger was Braden Zervis for the LN Racing Kart, and they're sort of helped with Brand Jarvis Crack Racing, but pitting by themselves this weekend, gaining 20 spots, the hardest of the Chargers on Sunday, starting down in 38th and making his way all the way up to 18th.
There you go. So yeah, just a bit of a rough start for the weekend, but ended up finishing top 20 for Braden Zervez. So with that, let's head into our next commercial break. And when we return with our race report presented by Stilo USA, we'll have K100 Masters, Mini Swift, and Micro Swift.
Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 4-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at their Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com. Since 1933, DID has been designing and manufacturing high-quality chains that are chosen and utilized by the world's best power sports athletes and is the winningest chain brand in the industry. From the hairpin turns of MotoGP to the local circle track and everywhere in between, DID has a chain offering for all level of power sports, and they are designed to outlast and outperform the competition. DID's kart chain lineup offers variations of chains, from high-performance sealed chains to the industry-leading non-sealed 219 HTZ chain. The DID SDH pin treatment is the unique design that allows for a lighter chain for less rotational mass, yet still keeping a high tensile strength for peak performance. DID also offers various levels of 4-pitch and 5-pitch chains to fit your drive chain needs. With over 90 years of experience, stay driven with DID.
And welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and our EKN Debrief. Tuesday, August 13th. It is a breakdown. It is a debrief for the United States Pro Kart Series Ohio Grand Prix in episode 134. And this show presented by Soding Racing USA. I'm David Cole, Nate Dean providing some commentary as well on our podcast as we are now into our third segment of the race report presented by Stilo USA. We are now talking K100 Masters presented by Nash Motorsports. Nate, the headline is
Settles becomes fourth different winner on the season.
My prediction's coming true as we got 4 different winners now in the K100 Masters category, and they've all been one-off racers. So first round, we had Adam Kreppen. Second round, we had Max Pappas. Third round, we had Scott Kopp. All drivers who had just raced that one weekend thus far. Well, Settles was one of the drivers who was coming in and making his first start on the 2024 season, along with a good handful or a couple other drivers as well that we knew were going to be in the mix. But one driver we didn't know was going to be in the mix, and it certainly gave us something to talk about in qualifying. Robbie Bedozo, we didn't think it was him at first, Nate. You were in the tower when we were talking about this, and this was happening. A little craziness as we thought it was Tom Gerstner that was starting on pole position with fast time in qualifying.
Yeah, so looking at the times, it was a little surprising to see that, but I was in the scale line taking photos there, and it became a bit more obvious and more quickly than the guys at Kart Chaser and you guys in the tower when saw his clear visor come in, thinking that's not who I think it is. And obviously it was Robbie when he pulled off the helmet, and like, oh, okay. So a bit different there. And it was cool to see Robbie back and competing this weekend for the 4th round of the season.
Yeah, it was the same helmet, but a different suit. So we were all kind of thrown off watching on track. And then to be able to put down, the quickest lap of the session after, running, outside the top 10 for much of the day. We weren't quite sure what was happening. Well, there was a miscommunication between registration and scoring where they missed replacing or substituting Robbie's name in the scoring system. So again, we thought it was Tom Gerstner. It was not. It was Robbie Bedozo behind the wheel and the official entrant for the K100 Masters. Ironically, his first time in the K100 Masters category after he's done some master shifter racing at the Super Nationals and other events as well. So first time in a single speed, I think he said in the interview, since probably 2015 RoboPong. So it's been mostly shifter racing for him since then. But Bedozo was not able to keep the top spot in the opening heat, as another driver we thought was going to be the driver, one of those drivers to be the one-off winner, Andy Kutcher, the local driver from the Motorsports Country Club area, taking the win in the opening heat race, as Bedozo fell back to second behind Clay Settles. Again, another driver making his first start on the season. Nicky Coelho, however, the championship leader, was able to fight his way forward after finishing fifth in the opening heat to win the second and third heat races. So the championship leader, getting some good, valuable points with the wins in heat 2 and heat 3. Bedozo was second with Settles in third in the second heat, while Mardan, his championship rival, was able to get up into second after starting all the heat races from the outside of the front row, with Kutcher finishing in third. So that put Coelho, Bedozo in the front row, Kutcher and Settles in row 2, and then Mardan and Miguel Mir in row 3. And the main event was a 4-driver breakaway. You had Settles, Bedozo, Coelho, and Kutcher making up the top 4. And that was until lap 16 when Kutcher spun on the exit of turn 1 while running second spot. Thankfully, no other driver made contact with him, so he was able to continue on, but out of the running for the victory. As that happened, that allowed kind of Mardan to go back into the lead group and still making it a 4-driver fight for the victory. And it was the final couple of laps where Settles was able to jump or get ahead of both Coelho and Bedozo, who were fighting for the top spot throughout much of the race. So on lap 23, Settles took over the lead, and then from there was able to fend off the group of 3 other drivers to score his victory on the day. The top kart driver taking the win. Bedozo ended up finishing in the second spot, but was found to be underweight when they got to the scale line. So that moved championship driver Nicky Coelho up into the second spot for the Team FMS Merlin driver. Mardan finishing in third on the Techno Kart. Martin Stone, the driver just outside the lead pack, was trying to run these guys down. He actually started in the 7th position, just wasn't able to do that, but he ended up finishing in 4th. And then a spin and 5th for Andy Kutcher in the privateer on the red speed. So Nate, it was a pretty dramatic race for the K100 Masters drivers. Again, going the full distance of 25 laps at MCC. That's a pretty tall task.
Yeah, it's a physical circuit, and the KAs aren't easy to drive for most people. So for the Masters to be able to fight throughout that entire race was really impressive to see. And yeah, Nicky Coelho, championship leader by almost 250 points. It's weird to say him still looking for that first win of the season, as we've had 4 one-off drivers end up winning the first 4 rounds of the season. So I know Coelho goes well at Newcastle. With the past 2 years that he's run the Route 66 Sprint Series there, he's been right Adam Crepin's bumper, and with obviously Crepin being a driver that's already nation, will definitely see Coelho back up in front and battling for not only a championship but his first win of the season.
Yeah, so that'll make it interesting to see if we can go 5 for 5, or if Coelho was able to bang his first victory on the season and first career victory, because he has not yet won in USPKS competition. So let's go over to the Mini Swift category presented by Sodi Racing USA, and the headline is:
Simone claims a career first.
It was really a Kart Republic Trinity Karting Group sweep, as we had Josh Bergman setting fast time in qualifying with a 101.669 to lead the mini field of 30 drivers in the qualifying session. A pretty impressive performance by Bergman, the mini rookie coming up this year, getting the fast time award. But it was Rocco Simone, his Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic teammate, that was able to come away with all 3 heat race wins in a great day on Saturday for the Canadian. Excuse me, as he was able to beat out Parker Ives, the championship contender, in the opening heat. Then it was Ben Gleiberman, the Nitro Kart driver under the Ryan Perry Motorsport tent, who finished third in the opening heat. He was able to finish second behind Simone, with Bergman finishing in third, while in the third heat race, Simone was able to hold off championship leader Ashton Woon and Royce Vega in the third heat. Woon was making up ground on the day. He actually qualified 14th, so it was a bad qualifying session. And then the opening heat race had a electrical issue where the stator failed him, so he recorded a DNF, got shuffled back in the second heat race, finishing 14th, and then again finishing second in the third. So that put him all the way back in 14th on the grid for the main event, with Simone on the pole position ahead of Gleiberman, or alongside Gleiberman, was Marco Samet and John McLellan, the driver on the outside of row 2. Bergman fell all the way back to the third row to start the main event, and it was not be a good main event for him, as he got shuffled in. I believe there was some contact early on, Nate, if you recall. I think it included Bergman, Royce Vega, and a couple other drivers that kind of took them out of contention.
Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy one throughout the weekend for the mini Swift drivers. A lot of the front runners kind of encountering their own troubles throughout the weekend at different times. But yeah, as we've said at the top of the show, the mini Swift drivers have put on quite the show in the past 8 months now that we've had the 2024 season, and it continued into this one. And yeah, it's not much to say from my end, because the racing just spoke for itself this weekend.
Yeah, so eventually we had a 4-driver breakaway that included Simone, Samet, McLellan, and Maxwell Macha, who started 7th, but he was able to put himself into the lead group. And so we saw a little bit of shuffling here and there, not too much, but eventually Ashton Woon, who again started 14th, was able to get through the second group of drivers and then actually start running down the lead group with their shuffling for the lead. However, as Woon got up into the second spot right behind Simone, a little bit of contact as they made their way out of the exit of turn 11 on the final circuit. You had Samet sitting right there in third, Woon second, Simone first, and it looked like they all kind of wanted to go to the inside, and Samet just made enough contact with Woon that sent him up and around, spinning around in the air right in front of the rest of the group that was right there. He collected McLellan, Maxwell Macha in that incident, along with a couple others, I believe. So a little bit of chaos as the final lap was happening. However, this allowed Rocco Simone to kind of drive away and go unchallenged to the checkered flag to secure, again, his first victory in USPKS Mini Swift competition. Woon ended up crossing the line in the second spot. However, he was disqualified for a fairing height violation, too high above the steering wheel. So a very championship impacting disqualification for Ashton Woon, despite fighting his way forward all weekend long, finishing in second. Had his results taken away because of the fairing height on his machine. That moved William Vitor, the Alonso Kart driver with Trinity Karting Group, who came all the way up from 20th to avoid all of that circumstances happening in front of him, to be able to finish second next to Mika Baraku, the Sodi Kart Racing USA driver, was now classified in third. Nico Orbezo ended up finishing in 4th, and then Benji Fernandez in the 5th position. So Nate, the hard charger, was Vitor with the 18 spots, going 20th to 2nd, but a crazy day and a crazy kind of way you look at the championship now, as I think it's going to put Parker Ives now in the championship lead, who he actually finished up in the 7th position, because he also suffered a penalty as well too in the race. So a lot of chaos in the mini Swift category this weekend.
Yeah, the unfortunate disqualification for Woon means that a points gap going into the weekend, those around 70 or 80 points, is put him down into 3rd with a 250 point deficit to make up to Parker Ives and Royce Vega in front of them. It's just one of those things in karting that you have to be sure about. It's one of the things that a lot of people maybe forget, but when you're in that championship battle, you just have to double check and triple check everything to make sure everything's within the rules. But with how dominant Ashton has been throughout the first 4 rounds of the championship going into Newcastle, even though he does have that 250 point deficit going into the weekend, he should still be one of the favorites for the championship.
Yeah, still make it up a lot at 725 points up for grabs for a weekend sweep to the driver who's able to do that. So Ives actually finished in the 3rd spot, was penalized 3 positions for contact. So the gap could have been more, but Ives lost 3 positions in the final tally for the main event. Let's into our final category, Micro Swift, presented by Team Ferris Racing. Nate, the headline is
Burgess takes 3rd straight in series.
Yeah, as I said during our by the numbers and elsewhere, the Micro Swift category has been very fun to watch, as we're seeing a lot of different drivers in contention. We have seen Zane Burgess, one of the more successful drivers throughout the season, but this weekend it was a challenge for all the drivers up front. A number of them battling for that top position. Among them was Cameron Johnson, the Team FMS Merlin driver, picking up fast time in qualifying with a 102.865 lap time to put himself on the pole position for all 3 heat races. He was able to win one of them. That was the 2nd round of heat races. However, Zane Burgess starting in the 7th position, so not a very good qualifying session for him. He was able to fight his way forward in the opening heat race and the final heat race for the wins in those races. That put him on the pole position for the main event, with Cameron Johnson starting on the outside of the front row. Marcelo Flores and Lawrence Perriman finished starting in the row 2 with Leo Simone and Morel Naria. I cannot say his name.
I'm kind of in the same boat there. I struggle with micro names.
Yep. Morel Nario. That's it. Nario. See, got it. All right. They were starting in row number 3. Burgess was able to break away from the field, but this time he was joined by Marcelo Flores, the SLA Kart Republic driver, was able to put himself on the bumper of Zane Burgess. He actually Flores led a couple of times over the course of the 22-lap race, but Burgess proved to be a little bit too strong and was able to take the victory by just over a 1/10 of a second at the line, as Flores was able to celebrate what I believe is his best result of the season in the runner-up spot. While behind them, it was a great battle for 3rd all race long. Eventually, it ended up being Jaden Francisco, the driver we saw win at the Summer Nationals at Newcastle. He was able to fight his way all the way up from 10th spot. He had I believe it was a DQ in the 3rd heat race for a clutch issue. So that put him 10th on the grid, and he was able to fight his way forward up into 3rd spot on the RPM Nitro Kart. With Nario ended up finishing 4th on his Orsilon Parolin, while Luca Bersil was 5th on his Orsilon Tony Kart. So a mix of different chassis brands, all 5 different chassis brands: Sodi Kart, Kart Republic, Nitro Kart, Parolin, and Tony Kart, making up your top 5 in the Micro Swift main event. Nate, the hard charger of the race was...
Max Garduna aboard his Ursulon Tony Kart, picking up 11 spots from a 24th, 13th.
Yeah, so a great recovery for him getting into the top 15. So with that, let's head into our final commercial break, and when we return, we'll wrap up our weekend at the Motorsports Country Club, look at the championship, Constructors Championship, and then our EKN calendar after this.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry, and with over 30 years of combined karting experience, we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all of our products are just a mouse click away. We continue to add to our growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, the ceramic product line, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, smoker performance sprockets, OTK products, AIM, MG tires, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. Be sure to stop by the Franklin trailer during the United States Pro Kart Series events as the official trackside vendor. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new Ben 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With four-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com.
Welcome back to our final segment of the EKN Debrief as we are looking at the United States Pro Kart Ohio Grand Prix from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Nate, let's wrap up our weekend at the club. As we mentioned, there was tons of grip. You put out a good thing about how much quicker the lap times were. Drivers were able to get a lot more out of their machines and get quicker lap times throughout the weekend. The Rhino Sealer in the final section of the racetrack certainly helped with that. And again, when you walk over the Rhino Sealer, I don't know if you were able to do that. It's not necessarily like the tire grip that's going to rip your shoe off, but it does provide a lot of grip there when you do roll over it with a tire.
Yeah, and it was interesting how the rubber was clumping together. It was almost just like really big marbles that have been pushed into the ground instead of just a flat layer of rubber in that section. So watching the drivers go through those corners throughout the weekend, a lot of drivers having to deal with hopping in the rear end or just a lot of movement making their way over the rubber there. So it definitely was a challenge for those this weekend.
Yeah, it was either you drove under it, you drove through it, or you drove over it. One of those options through that section. And it's the slower part of the racetrack, but certainly the area where you need the grip to get through quicker and quicker. Nate, the downside to the weekend was the multiple injuries we did see suffered by drivers, on the weekend. I believe there are really only three official transports that occurred. I believe others were either personally taken to a medical center to be checked out. Nothing major other than the broken leg by the Texas driver in K100 Jr. However, again, injuries were sustained on the weekend, and partly just part of racing. But the other part, I would have to say, would be because of kind of the layout of the turn one situation at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which is something that they have already announced will be taken care of coming November 1. Sean Bailiff has already showed and described the track revisions that will be done. And that includes moving that fence line that is just outside turn one, probably about 20 to 25 feet back, giving ample runoff space for that area of the racetrack to take away the opportunity to hit the wall and be sitting there waiting for more drivers to come through with possible major incident scenarios. So, Nate, it's something that you don't quite know until you go to a racetrack and race it and see how it goes. We see it all the time with temporary racing where we know certain areas can become problematic. Well, this racetrack was never really designed to be a racetrack, just more of a place to go and make laps. Now, after 2 years of major events coming to this facility, they kind of have figured out what needs to be changed in order to make it a little bit safer.
Yeah, and the turn one situation there is a bit interesting. We saw a lot of incidents there when the Pro Tour rolled in, same with Stars and same with PCAS last weekend, with just the nature of how quick that corner is and then how close the barriers are. It definitely is a little bit sketchy, but of course, kudos to Sean Bailiff and the entire team at MCC for identifying a problem and putting it to work and fixing it, and moving that fence line back and giving those drivers a lot more runoff instead of about 8 feet or so and then into a barrier is definitely going to raise the safety factor there. So kudos to them. That's part of, I believe, what Sean said, a $250,000 investment into that place, along with a few other amenities to go along with it. But yeah, that with how many series have gone here in the past just couple of weeks with the Pro Tour, with Stars, with Rotax. We started to see this last season at the start of the year with Orlando, where the final couple of weekends that racers started to go there, the racing got a little argy-bargy with everyone figuring out setups, pretty much being on the same playing field, knowing the track like the back of their hand at that point, and bringing the pack together is really what we saw this weekend at MCC. But yeah, unfortunate for the amount of injuries we had this weekend, but the big positive is the track changes that we'll be seeing at the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll have more on that. They've already got a rendering of what the revisions will take place. So we'll be working with Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati to get that information out so everyone can see. And when we go back, it'll obviously be a little bit different than what we're used to. And again, karts will find a way. That's something we always keep talking about with safety in terms of racetracks. And you never quite karts get to the racetrack and do that. No different. We talked about it prior to the weekend, the Modesto Grand Prix. You would think, a typical street race would be fine. Well, karts will find a way to make it a little bit worse. So it is part of that. But Nate, we did wrap up our 4th round of the United States Pro Kart Series. So going into the season finale here, we have all 7 championships still up for grabs heading into the finale. I think that's the big part of the points change and what they wanted to do, counting all 5 rounds, is to have all the 7 championships still up for grabs heading into the finale.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers still within touching distance of that title. I think going into Newcastle, between all 7 classes, around 39 drivers have a chance of going home with a number 1 trophy for the season. So obviously really cool to see that with so many classes still up for grabs. I think mathematically it's the lowest is KA Masters with about 3 drivers that have a chance, but in the likes of Mini Swift, if they get the entries to, you could see 8 different drivers have a chance going into Newcastle potentially to get that championship. So it's going to be a very fun one to watch across all categories. It's nice not having to build any championship graphics the race before, where everything is coming down to the final race of the season. You'd love to see that.
Yeah, and again, we could see something wrapped up on Saturday. That's the one difference, because there is still 300 points up for grabs with the 3 different heat races in a category. So again, at least it's going to be at the finale where we see something wrapped up, rather than what we saw last year with a couple of the championships pretty much guaranteed and locked up going into the finale. So that's going to be exciting. I may need some help with the Excel spreadsheet to kind of tabulate points as it happens throughout the weekend. So we'll be busy with that. And looking forward to crowning this year's champions later this year. But first, the Constructors Championship from this past weekend. We saw 6 brands winning the 7 races on the weekend. And Nate, it was Cosmic, the only brand to pick up 2 victories.
Yeah, Cosmic and Rolson Performance Group, the only team to get 2 victories, that being in the 2x30 categories for Ryan Norberg and Turner Brown, picking those up. The other kart manufacturers, Tony Kart picking up 1. Top Kart is back on the list for national race wins, so good to see them on the list with the help of Clay Settles. And you have LN Kart, Sodi, and Kart Republic all getting 1 each.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot this year. Good diversity, not only in USBCast, but other programs as well. So again, a lot of different brands picking up victories in 2024. So great to see that. Now let's move into our EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented by Odenthal Racing Products. Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has to get you on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provides the best in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Check out their Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines and their 4-cycle EZ set for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. Nate, I will be heading back to the Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana next weekend, August 23rd through the 25th, as the Race Road Tax will host the U.S. Trophy Final, where we will see a number of Road Tax Grand Finals tickets handed out Sunday afternoon at Newcastle for what will be the 3rd edition of this event coming up.
Yeah, one event that I haven't been to, but definitely love to tune into. It's been a bucket list item to go to one of these years, but to be able to watch the live coverage is always really exciting there from both you guys, and the live streams at Kart Chaser will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting one. We'll have drivers from all over the U.S. there, Canada, and other countries as well, trying to grab one of the final tickets in their respective categories around the world to compete at the Road Tax Grand Finals, which is heading to, now I got to think about it. I believe it's heading to Italy. Road Tax Grand.
Sarno.
Sarno, Italy, correct. Yeah, on October 19th through the 26th. So Sarno, that is a historic racetrack for not only the country of Italy, but for European and international karting as well. So it'd be great to see the Rotax Grand Finals heading back there. I think the last time was there, I think Ryan Norberg was there along with a new NASCAR driver, Connor Zillage, who's going to be racing with Junior Motorsports, JR Motorsports in the Xfinity program next year. So exciting news for Connor Zillage, the former FIA Karting Academy Trophy winner, the only USA driver to do that. And that was 2020, I believe, COVID year. So up next, after the Rotax race, the following weekend, it'll be myself and Mr. Rob Howden. We will be heading to the famous Rock Island Grand Prix in Rock Island, Illinois on August 31st through September 1. The only major street, well, I shouldn't say the only major street race. I said the world's largest street race in the world. Excited to be back to the Quad Cities region. Again, my continuing streak of going to the Rock Island, which began back in 2004. So it's been a lot of years at Rock Island. Only year missed, obviously, during the 2020 year when the event was canceled due to the COVID situation and the pandemic going on. So street racing. This time, both myself and Rob Howden will be racing with the Margay Ignite program. We'll be racing the senior and masters categories on the weekend, enjoying the activities on and off the racetrack. And hopefully one of us will be in contention for one of those rock trophies that they hand out to the winners every year. But Nate, that is an event. It's a party. It's a festival and a new layout this year, which is going to throw, I think, everybody on a level playing field going into Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, nice to see a bit of a change in track layout for this year, and with the amount of money that that city is putting into itself, and obviously the Grand Prix too over the past couple of years and into the future, should be a fun one to watch not only this year but in the years to come.
Yeah, multi-million-dollar renovation of of the downtown region where the race is being held. So again, we'll have full trackside report from Race Rotax US Trophy Final and the Rock Island Grand Prix. So Nate, let's wrap up our show, our EKN debrief of the USPKS Ohio Grand Prix. Any final thoughts as we wrap up our show?
No, just after this weekend and the entire year that we've had of USPKS, ready to go into the final round at Newcastle later on in the year. Of course, we still have, like you said, those two Race Rotax and Rock Island Grand Prix races for weekend coverage that we're of course looking forward to as well. But the prospect of 39 or 40 different drivers having a chance at a championship going into Newcastle for the USPKS finale is an enticing one.
Yeah, so excited to wrap everything up. Newcastle Motorsports Park, September 27th through the 29th with the Indiana Grand Prix. So for Nate Dean, I am David Cole. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.